Hi, welcome to the post-game press conference. First for Southern Miss, head coach Scott Berry, starting pitcher Tanner Hall, 5 1/3 innings pitched this afternoon, 6 strikeouts. Center fielder Gabe Montenegro at the plate, 1 for 3. Coach, just start by talking, one, about the game, but also just kind of recap the season. 47 wins. What a great season for Southern Miss.
Yeah, first of all, let me congratulate Ole Miss on the 2 games that they played here. Really a classy program. I told Mike after the game there, I said, if it couldn't have been us, I wanted it to be you. I think the world of him, have the utmost respect for how he runs his program and how his players act. So congratulations to them. You know, Mississippi's going to be represented. We knew that going into this one way or the other. So certainly we're pulling for them to win the whole thing there. So, you know, the journey started back in February, actually in August, but, you know, with the book really started getting really hot in February. And that's what I told them today before the game. We're the author of the book. And, you know, we decide when it ends, in all honesty. And unfortunately today it ended. But within that book, there's a lot of great stories in there. You know, the regular season conference champs on the last year that were in CUSA, 47 wins. You know, hosting a regional for the 3rd time in the program's history, 2nd in 5 years, winning that regional, you know, having lost to LSU on that Saturday night, and understanding the challenge that was at hand and trying to take it one game at a time to win 3 to get where we are today, and our guys answered that bell. And then doing something this program's never done, and that's host a super regional. So, you know, our program continues to grow. Our fan base continues to grow. We set all kinds of records this year. I can assure you we'll even break those records next year. The momentum that we had coming out of Oxford last year in the regional certainly carried over to this year. But, you know, our players have been resilient. You know, we talk about steady wins the race, and certainly that's exactly what they did up until today. They kept it steady the whole time. So, very much appreciative of our coaches, our support staff, our administration for running such a great tournament here, really the last 3 weeks, you know, and so, you know, hats off to them. Jeff Mitchell, the tournament director in all 3, he continued to get better and better with it, and honestly, I don't know how much he could have got any better than he did. So it was a really good tournament, the way everything was run. Unfortunately, we just didn't come out on top.
All right, we'll open it up to questions.
Coach, if you don't mind, just kind of talk about some of the challenges that Ole Miss's Hunter Elliott just kind of gave your team on the mound.
Man, I tell you, a guy came over there to back up a play, and he hadn't even broke out a razor yet. You know, true freshman. I mean, way ahead of his time. He had mound presence of a senior. He was in total control. You know, I was really, really impressed. You know, what he did is he really mixed his pitches. He plus and minus the velocity, and had a great changeup, made his fastball really sneaky, and just kind of just hit both sides of the plate, and really never gave us a chance to get any kind of timing off from him. And you know, we get a hit there in the 2nd, a little kind of swinging bunt, and then he retires 16 straight before we get the next hit there in the 8th. So pitched very, very well. But, you know, Tanner Hall, you know, he matched him really good, too. First 2 innings, he had to pitch out of trouble, had 1st and 2nd, nobody out, and was able to get out of both those innings, one with a double play ball in the 1st, and the 2nd inning, you know, he gets 1st and 2nd, I think a leadoff walk and a base hit, and he strikes out the side. So, you know, we knew Ole Miss was going to be a tough offense to navigate through, and certainly they showed that. They created some opportunities for themselves, and they were able to take advantage of them. The difference was we never really created anything for ourselves. Both times that we had somebody at third base, it was with 2 outs. There, the time that the error on the pickoff, and then Gabe, you know, squares up a ball. Elko makes a great play at first base to end that one. And then later on, bases loaded when Pato flew out there to end
it. Scott, I mean, there was a lot of injuries to this lineup towards the second half of the season. Do you feel like that hindered you guys towards the final stretch?
You know, honestly, there was just a couple. You know, I mean, it was, and they were big at the time. They were Ewing and Wilkes. You know, our 3 and 5 hole hitter. You know, in this book, you look back in the 5th game of the year, our starting catcher, Blake Johnson, breaks his hamate bone, and now we're down to one catcher. And Rodrigo Montenegro, you know, he has to catch 20 straight games. And I mean, literally, I'm praying every morning that he will stay healthy because we really have no backup. Sarge played a little bit in junior college, but, you know, the injuries outside of those two, did it kind of mess with our chemistry a little bit? Yeah, I think so, but we got them both back and healthy. We just didn't finish down the stretch like we needed to. You know, in the regional last week, we did. You know, we hit well. Super regional, we didn't. You know, we just didn't do, you know, we got shut out for 18 innings. So you're not going to win a game doing that.
Scott, I know obviously this is all kind of raw right now, but when do you allow yourself to, you know, bask in what you guys were able to do this year, also knowing what you're building for the future here?
Yeah, you know, it's going to take a couple of days, you know, just to kind of let this kind of thing settle in because it hurt. I mean, I could see the hurt in the guys' faces. I mean, we had young men out there with tears coming down their face because we worked so hard and it was a special year. You know, at one point, 2 weeks ago, there was only 64 teams left, you know, out of 301. And, you know, we were one of those 64, and we did enough as a body of work to be one of the at-larges. You know, we did enough to host a regional. You know, so there was a lot of great things there that I don't want to go unnoticed. And just because we lost this super regional in 2 games and you know, and got shut out 2 games, it does not define who this team was and what they were about at all. You know, I think you got to credit Ole Miss. You got to give them some credit. You know, the young man yesterday and then today, Elliott, I mean, they pitched pretty good. And they have. You know, I think that's what's kind of carried them here. They had trouble finding that rotation throughout the year, but, you know, they were able to get it all figured out here, and that's what's kind of carried them.
Gabe, you've just had your last at bat at Southern Miss. Could you just talk about your storied career and just the kind of the way you guys went out the last 2 years to Ole Miss? Could you just highlight that a little bit?
Yeah, you know, all this throughout my career, I've seen players just come and go, and I can tell all the hard work that the coaches have put on, the players have put on, and just the progress that we all made throughout the years. And, you know, I'm just really honored that I was able to come to this program, and I'm just thankful for Coach Barry and all the coaches to give me that chance. And even though this is the end, like I know this program, I know these players, and they're going to keep working, and they're going to come stronger next year.
Coach, the question, just from the earlier one about the future. Mm-hmm. Now, what about players that are going to be drafted, players that are going to graduate? Where are you guys standing as far as what are you looking for, recruiting purposes? Yeah. What are you going to do with the guys that sit down to get drafted, if they're going to stay or if they're going to go? Talk to me about that.
Well, unfortunately, they've moved that draft back now until the middle of July, so we'll have to sit around and wait for that for a month. But, you know, we lose 3 seniors. We lose Gabe, who's been here for 6 years. What, 25% of your life you've been here? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So, and a great 6 years. I couldn't be more proud of a young man right here. I remember the first year he was here, he redshirted, and that first weekend we had a big lead, and he kept looking back at me, am I going to get in? Well, I'm going to get in. You know, and as a coach, you have to really kind of look at that, and you go, you know, in our sport, baseball, you see one pitch, you're done for a year. I mean, that's a year eligibility. And we have some really good outfielders in 17, and so I have to make a decision, and the decision was to redshirt him. And I think right now, looking at everything, and it was hard for him because he's such a baseball rat. He wanted to play. It was hard for him to see that. But now, move 6 years later or 5 years later, here we are. If we'd have played one inning or saw one pitch in that year, he wouldn't be here with us this year. So, you know, I have tremendous respect for him, how he came out and worked every day and what he brought to our program and representing. I mean, there's not many programs that have the Guatemalan national flag flying out in the outfield, but they do here, don't they?
Yes, sir.
And I can't be more proud of this young man right here as a true sophomore. He had his breaking out party last year in the regional against Ole Miss on that Saturday to get us to the championship game, and he hasn't disappointed this year. He's picked up right where he left off. The Boo Ferris Award winner this year for the state of Mississippi. the highest award you can win against some really great candidates that he was going against. You know, he's a Team USA, Collegiate Team USA invite with Mike Bianco and Team USA. So a very special young man with a lot of good years ahead of him as well.
Scott, you mentioned not really being able to get anything going offensively this weekend. Is there a common thread that you saw in some of the ABs you guys took that maybe you can point to that caused that, or just your evaluation of what happened there?
Yeah, just a timing problem. I mean, they just kept us off time, and they did a good job of plus and minus. And last weekend we swung the bat pretty well. You know, we scored runs, and then I just think sometimes you got to tip your hat. I mean, there's a lot of times people have tipped their hat to our pitchers this year, in all honesty, and I've seen them, do that. And today I have to be that opposing coach that goes, you know what, those were two pretty good arms that pitched. I'm not going to sit there and say they're power arms, but they pitched, and they got you out, and that was what was important. Back to your question, we got three seniors. Gabe being one, Drew Boyd being another, and Hunter Riggins being the third. So outside of that, we return everybody coming back just like we did last year. It will be called next year a COVID team, basically, because of the extra year. So we're excited about those guys that come back. They took the step from last year to the next step, and that was the challenge at the end out there when I told them, it's time to take that next step, and that's to Omaha next year.
All right, final two questions.
Yeah, to kind of bounce off of what you just said, you got several COVID juniors coming back. Do you feel like you know where they stand? And also, if you keep this team intact, you bring back almost all of your production. I mean, can you talk a little bit more about how that makes you feel for next season?
Well, I think, it's just every year is a learning experience that moves you forward to the next one and makes you better, we talk a lot about failing. You can learn from failure more than you can really winning, in all honesty, if you know how to go about it. So, I would assume the draft is probably going to, entertain some guys on the mound. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But, we feel good about it right now. And, obviously, if it's the best thing for those young men, then I'll be very supportive of it, as I always have. So.
Final question.
Yeah.
Scott, I know you and Mike are good friends, Bianco, and I know you know about some of the pressure that he was under, and a lot of people wanted to change. What do you think about all that?
Well, he's the winningest coach in their program's history. I said it last week. There ought to be when he decides to go out, there needs to be a statue made there for him, because he has taken that program from just a regular program to what it is today. His second World Series appearance, the facilities, everything that's been invested in that venue to bring it into one of the best college baseball facilities in the country. And, I mean, he's responsible for that because he's generated the interest, he's generated the enthusiasm, and he's a good baseball person, and he's a better person in my mind. I think all 8 teams got a good chance now that Tennessee's gone. So I think it's pretty good, in all honesty. I think they're all 8 will be smiling when they get there. So, but what a tough inning there for Tennessee. It's hard to sustain that for so long. It's hard to not have some kind of bump in the road in your season, and certainly you don't want it to happen there at the end like it happened to them if you're in that program. But that's baseball, and that's life.
Coach Berry, Tanner, Gabe, congratulations on an outstanding year. Again, 47 wins, outstanding. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much.